Hello, everyone. This is Christianity for Beginners, a channel that helps new or unbelievers learn more about what Christianity means to us. Today, we'll be going over the 7 days of creation and the 10 commandments. And always remember to download a Bible app at any app store to follow along with some of the verses. Now, let's start off with the 7 days of creation. This will sound a little bit more like a story, so let's begin. It starts off with God having already created heaven and earth, and He said, "Let there be light," and there was. This is actually what created day and night, and they were now separated as the light was separated from the darkness. This also marks the end of the first day. The second day, He made the sky, which separated heaven from earth, permanently separating us from heaven physically. On the third day, He created dry ground, and on this dry ground, He made it bloom with trees and fruits, some of which we will never see till we go to heaven. This marks the end of the third day. On the fourth day, He created space, and He also created the sun and the moon, which He decided should govern day and night. By the end of this, the fourth day was over. On the start of the fifth day, He created all animals, such as birds and fish. He saw it was good, and that was all about what happened on the fifth day. On the sixth day, He created livestock and little critters that crawl on the ground, and every other imaginable animal except for birds and fish. But His final creation on the sixth day was to create humans. We were made to reign over all animals during our time on earth. And this was the end of the sixth day. On the seventh day, however, God rested, and this is why some people practice Sabbath, the seventh day of the week, that you could not work on legally. Now that we have a little bit of background knowledge on the 7 days of creation, we can talk about Adam and Eve. Adam was created first, and he was told he could eat any fruit in the Garden of Eden, which is where Adam lived at the time. But there was one fruit he couldn't eat, the tree that gave the knowledge of good and evil. Then God said it was not good for any man to be alone. So while Adam was sleeping, He took one of his ribs, and He made Eve. Now, life was good for a time, but one day, the serpent, the shrewdest of all animals, or at that time Satan, was one of the footstools of sin, and he said to them, "You can be like God if you eat the fruit." And they wanted the wisdom, so they did. This is similar to times where you've been told not to do something by a parent, and Satan, the flesh, or the world tempted you into doing it. Unfortunately, unlike their mistake, this had a much greater punishment for them. They then became aware that they were naked, and they hid from God. Eventually, He found them and asked why they were hiding. They said, "Because we are naked." God then knew that they had eaten the fruit and banished them from eating it forever, and punished them with terrible things like painful labor for millennia to come. Wow, that was pretty long, and now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 10 Commandments. I'll explain the ones that may be a little bit more confusing or have words that you might not understand. Remember, if you have any questions, leave a comment down below, and I'm sure to answer them. Now let's start off at the very beginning. The first commandment says, "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt," which we'll talk about in a future episode, "and out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me." The second commandment says, "You shall not make yourself a carved image, or any other likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth." It says, "You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments." The third says, "You shall not take the name of your Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes His name in vain." The fourth says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." The fifth says, "Honor your father and mother, that your days may be long upon the land in which the Lord your God is giving you." The sixth says, "You shall not murder." The seventh says, "You shall not commit adultery." The eighth says, "You shall not steal." The ninth says, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor." And the 10th says, "You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's." And now I'm going to explain the second, third, fourth, seventh, and ninth. The second says you should have no other idol but me. Third means do not curse using God's or his son's name. The fourth means that on the seventh day you should not work. The seventh means you should be faithful mentally, emotionally, and physically to your spouse. And the ninth says you shall not lie about a person that has done nothing wrong. And I'm also going to explain the 10th. And the 10th means you shouldn't long for something that isn't yours. And now I just want to thank you all for watching this episode. And next week we're going to talk a little bit more about the 7 deadly sins and the 9 fruits of the spirits. And always remember that you are a child of God.